I record this podcast on Gadigal country. I'd like to pay my respect to the traditional custodians.
And I'm recording on Wurundjeri country, part of the Kulin Nation. Let's go.
I know you're gonna dig this.
It's like I've been given like an extra sprinkle of something.
You got layers.
Yeah, I got layers.
I was just thinking, I'm like, we're just such beautiful storytellers.
You're making a lot of sense today, girl. No, I'm done.
Let's jump into it, honest to God. What's your earliest childhood of NAIDOC, Matty?
Well, I have a memory of NAIDOC when I went to live with my dad, and that's probably as far as I can go back when it comes to memories of NAIDOC week. And there was this celebration in the local park of the community of Tamworth, and Nova Peris, Beau de la Cruz, and I think Nathan Merritt. So, famous First Nations sporting icons came to the town, and they put on this big day with a barbecue, and the whole community came out to meet them and connect with them. And it was like, I think the NAIDOC week's major event in Tamworth, and it was in my community of Coldale. So that's, I think, one of the first memories I had that is a clear memory of what NAIDOC week felt like, because it was, very much in community. I was around 10, 11 years old, and it was a beautiful time. It's a core memory of mine because it does flash back into my memory every year that NAIDOC rolls around.
Did you know, historically what NAIDOC was at that time?
No, I think because I was a young kid, I just felt like it was a week where blackfellas celebrated who we are and what our community is about, especially that community aspect to it.
Yeah.
And I remember there was a lot of music and sport and these sort of modern interpretations of our culture. That we're so connected with. Blackfellas love their footy and they love to perform and dance, and I think that's at the core of our culture. So it's, that continuation of culture. And I remember the feeling and the community aspect to this day, but I don't remember thinking, oh yeah, this is a protest for our community. I never remember that feeling. What about you?
Nah, same. I don't remember it being, I just do remember it being a celebration. I remember similar age. I think my earliest childhood is, again, that 10, 11-year-old self. And I think I was at East Carnarvon Primary School. Yeah. And it was, I think I might have been a bit younger, because I do remember the time that I was kind of taken from school, or me and my brother were taken from school, was sort of like that 9 years old kind of stage. Yep. So yeah, it would have been a bit earlier. And I have two memories. I have one memory of being in the assembly area and being at, primary school, and then having these, trestle tables lined up, and they had kangaroo stew. One of the aunties had come in and made stew and really fresh damper. And we'd all line up every year and we'd all move through, and we would all sit in the whole school would sit in the assembly area. We only had maybe 400, less than that, students at my school, I think. Maybe even a bit less than that, 200 maybe. Okay. And we'd all sit in the assembly area, black, white, Asian, all of the kids, all different cultures, would all sit, and we would all eat damper and kangaroo stew that some of the aunties had come in and made. And the canteen would also give us free Milos that day and stuff as well. So, it was a really as a kid, you think, oh, this is amazing. You're like, yeah. And, it was during class. So it wasn't just lunchtime. It was you're getting out of class to have a feed, which is the best. But I don't remember, again, it coming off a protest. I do remember it being a celebration. And, I was most of the little Noongar kids or the Yamaji kids there would all sort of congregate together, and we would know all the families there. It was nice. I really enjoyed that memory. The other memory that kind of comes with that, which is very unique, and I've actually never told this story, was when Australia, the film, was being filmed. Yes. They came to all these rural schools, and I didn't know it at the time, but my brother was auditioned for it.
Wow.
And I had to wait after school because he was auditioning for it because they wanted a little black kid.
Yeah. Nella.
Yeah, and my brother got picked up to do to audition, and I was waiting outside. I don't know if I actually auditioned myself. I think I was being a bit too old for it.
Okay.
But I remember waiting outside the music room, which is where they did the audition. At that, it's kind of those two.
Was Baz Luhrmann there?
That's kind of weird. Like when I think about it, like,
I know.
Was he?
I think maybe what would have happened is they would have got a shortlist together and put them in front of Baz. But
isn't that crazy?
I mean, it's such a bit of a tangent. But what did you think of the film Australia?
You know, I actually don't remember it.
Yeah.
I think I need to rewatch it because it's Nicole Kidman, right?
It's Nicole Kidman, Hugh Jackman, but also Ursula Jovic is in it. And there's also the young Nella, who's Brendan. Brendan, I want to say his last name. I don't know his last name, but deadly little actor. He really held that film together. But you want to know a secret about Australia?
What?
It's Baz Luhrmann's least favourite film he's done. He told me that he didn't
love it.
Why
did he shoot it then?
Well, he had great aspirations, but
Yeah.
I think there were problems with the production and the studio side of things. They wanted it to be more Hollywood, and he wanted it to be more grounded of Australia. And I think that it just became too much of a dramatized Hollywood film rather than the truth of the story.
Yeah.
And he told me that, and I thought, oh, well, I wonder how many people he said that to.
I have
but
to
anyway,
rewatch it. Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't remember many conversations with family about NAIDOC Day though. You know, it was never something that was brought up to me by my white mum when I was younger.
Yeah.
Before I moved back home to community and lived with Dad. So there's not a lot of young memories of NAIDOC. But now that I've gotten older and, you know, I'm so much more aware of where this day came from. It came from a protest, you know, the Day of Mourning in 1938.
Yeah.
And NAIDOC stands for the National Aborigines, which we don't say anymore, but it stands for the National Aborigines and Islanders Day Observance Committee. I wonder how many people know that.
I don't know. Maybe mob know that. I think when you get older and you start getting more education around the history of so-called Australia, you do know that. But I don't think they know it's an observance committee. I think a lot of people think day of celebration. Yes. Which is kind of what we see it as, obviously. And
what it's turned into,
and what it's turned into, yeah. And I think that, you know what, I think that encompasses what mob are like. You know, they sometimes, I think, you know, we can often constantly play in that discourse. But we're a very celebratory, you know, mob. We love celebration.
We're proud of who we are too.
We are. And I think I love NAIDOC because of that reason, because I think it highlights all the good things. There obviously are some pretty negative things. You know, we know that. Actually, I was having, not to go on another tangent, but I was having this yarn with Mia. And I feel like I've got this desensitization to death, unfortunately, you know, grief, etc. Yeah. But I said to her, well, you know, I've got a lower life expectancy to you. And she was like, yeah, but you're healthy. I'm like, no, but I do. That's the reality and the facts. So, you know, there's those horrible statistics of, you know, life expectancy gap, obviously. But I feel like this week and the theme this year is the next generation, strength, vision and legacy. Yeah,
what do you think about the theme? When you heard it announced, did you resonate with it?
I love every single theme that we've ever had, to be fair.
What's some of your favourites over the years?
It was the one where it was about the elders, women elders.
Because of her we
can. That is my favourite because obviously,
you know what?
mum, nan.
Yep.
Because of her.
That one really rang true to so many people. That is a theme that has stuck with a lot of people because of who we can. That phrase is so powerful. And I remember really celebrating, you know, First Nations women that year. And I think that's such a powerful theme.
What do you think of, you know, the next generation? What kind of legacy would you like? You know,
I love this theme. I think it is about our future. So many of the conversations in our community and outside of our community about our community is about our past. And I think that is super important to recognise and for there to be truth-telling and accountability when it comes to the past of our experiences as a community.
Absolutely.
But there's also the idea of hope when looking forward.
Yeah.
And there is this idea of the next generation taking leadership and being in spaces that not necessarily in the past have been open for us or we've been invited to be a part of. So for me, the next generation and the future generations, it's an exciting time for our people. I think that our ancestors would be so proud of the change that has been created, the people that have been the trailblazers that have, pushed down the barriers to some of the parts of our society that we just weren't always a part of or welcomed in. Yeah. And I think that there's been a lot of change. I truly believe that small conversations over a long period of time is a really great way to create change because there's learning that can be done between these conversations. And so when things take a little while and the conversation is continuous, I don't see it as a bad thing. I actually encourage these conversations that take a little bit of time and depth because sometimes when you have moments of extremism and things change quickly, the learning and the key moments throughout the journey of, you hate that word, throughout the journey of learning is,
the right word,
is missed,
for this.
But
it's been a journey for our mob, constantly having to go up against a system that wasn't built for you. And, being a Black woman as well, having to kind of navigate that, being a part of a minority group, being a woman, being a Black woman, it's there's already something obstructing. And I'm no, well, why don't we just start making our own little tables? You know? I think
and you can see that happening.
You can absolutely see it. And I think one of the people that really inspires me is Leah Purcell. She is one of those Black inspiring women that just goes and just trajects forward and has no apology about it. And I'm just speaking on behalf of women, but I think there are so many beautiful Black men out there as well that are like yourself, thriving in spaces and not asking for permission. Just going, being well, you don't have it, so I'm here. So let's do it,
I think that's the exciting part about this theme. It's the next generation. We have built such a strength within our community because of what we've been through in our lived experiences that the strength, the vision and legacy part of this theme, I think resonates with so many of us because, as you know, our people are very resilient. Yeah. I think that resilience isn't always something that I think you should strive to be because I don't know that having to push through barriers and challenges your whole life to be resilient is the goal, but it does provide you with a strength and it provides you with this inner ability to be able to keep going. And I think that our community has, so much of that.
Yeah. I think persistence is one of the things that I would definitely say you and I both carry, but I think a lot of mob, when they're up against these challenges or these obstructions and these barriers, the mob that persist are the ones that reap the benefits, I think. They just go through it and they're what? And I think persistence builds resilience. But I think the other things that build resilience is gratitude and culture. I think those are the two things. And connection. Isn't it crazy? Because I think everything that I've done, I've never gone amiss without being grateful for the opportunity. But I also know that there's always more work to be done.
Yeah. I think do
you reckon?
Absolutely. The whole gratitude side of thing is such a unique, I think, driving point of our community too, because one thing that I know that you will resonate with as well is that we never do it for ourselves. No. When we're doing things, there's such a bigger picture. It's not singular. It's community orientated. When we're pushing for change or if we're, trying to do things that will create, a positive impact, it's not just for us. It's for our communities. And I think that the whole vision part of this theme is about what is next. What is the vision that the young people, the new voices of our community want to see changed. And I think that that's an exciting thing because times are changing. It's not, what do they say? We're not in Kansas anymore.
Yeah. Tell me something about all three of the themes. So we've got strength, vision and legacy. Tell me one thing you would want from all of those.
Okay, well, the strength I think I alluded to before, I think is a profound energy that we all hold as First Nations people.
So it's like base. That's our foundation. Like that
we're strong people. We're resilient people. We're fighters for our community. We're staunch. We hold space not just for what we want as individuals, but for a huge community behind us. And I think that takes a lot. Vision for me is I really want to see Black joy. Yes. I really want to see a lightness to our community in terms of us
celebrating in the shadows. Do you know what I mean?
I'll tell you, like for me, when I say lightness, what I mean is I know that our community's been through a lot. We hold a lot of trauma, intergenerational trauma. We also hold a lot of, in quotation marks, baggage from what's been done to our community. So my vision would be that there is a lightness that is in the future for our community that we can then show our Black joy, our excitement, instead of our deficit and our issues being the highlight of conversation.
Yes.
I want us to really be a community that is known for its love, care, culture, connection, and not for the
stats, the discourse.
That's right.
The violence, the substance abuse, like all of those things that we struggle with. Yeah, and the stereotypes. But there are other people that are struggling with similar things as well. But we are constantly put in that discourse. And I agree with you. That's like fucking louder for the people in the back. Honest to God.
And the legacy piece to this for me is really about what is it that you leave behind, even as a young person in the next generation. What is your legacy? What is it that will be left behind when you're gone? And I think that there's been where we work and breathe and stand on the shoulders of giants. There are people who have been doing the work.
What does that phrase mean? Explain to people who don't know what that means.
So there are people who have come before you who have done an immense amount of work, especially in my community. So I believe that there are, elders, our ancestors, they've had to go through a lot. They've had to triumph through so many challenges for our community, and they've done a lot of work that then we can reap the benefits of and continue.
100%.
So for me, it is about taking, understanding that there's been a lot of great work that's been done in our community. There's been a lot of foundations that are built, and it's like carrying that on so that that's not lost. But the whole legacy part is, when I think about what is important for me as a Black fella, and I say like the Black joy side of things and continuing the work that people have done before me, I also think about making sure that I'm walking the walk with staying connected to culture.
Yeah, that being your grounding and working off that. Yeah.
So that's something that I'm looking forward to doing this year through a really great program that I'm going to be a part of that actually gets to take me home to learn language.
Nice.
So language for me would be something that if someone said to me, what's your future aspirations for your connection to your community? It would be to learn my language.
Yeah.
And I think that that's something that I'm really excited about, because to be able to have the opportunity to connect on that level and be home on country learning my language, that's a legacy that I would love to leave behind.
Talking about language, actually, I just remembered a little memory of mine in that time we were talking about NAIDOC, and I remember that at school every end, you know how you do like an end of year and everyone would showcase like a dance or like a some type of routine, like whatever. I remember like doing that, and then they would have these like specific awards and like I'd always get the Aboriginal award.
the best Black fella or what?
Yeah, like it would just be like the best. Like, it was so crazy. It's very tokenistic about coming, like, you just didn't think about it.
Oh my God, you just reminded me of something. Keep going, but I'm going to show you something.
Yeah, and I kept every award, you got like a little gift. Yep. And those gifts for me were actually books. And this is just like unlocked a whole memory of mine. And the books that I got were always Blackfella books. Yep. And the first book that I got was this 6 seasons, the Noongar seasons, and that incorporates so much language that, you know, a Noongar girl living in Yamaji, I learnt most of the Yamaji slang. So, like, my dialect was a bit different to when I came back home to Noongar country, which is my grandmother's country. I was like talking different slang, and they were like, why are you saying that? That's like, you know, that's a Yamaji word. And I'm like, yeah, but like, I grew up in Carnarvon, which is, But this Noongar book was like the only connection that I first initially had to Noongar language. Mm-hmm. So I started learning the 6 seasons, and I would constantly like flip through the pages and like try to recite all of these seasons. Wow. It's just crazy. I don't remember it now, but I constantly always Google which season we're in at the moment, because I think, you know, in terms of like, just a side note, climate change, the seasons have shifted, but the thing that hasn't changed is the Noongar seasons are off what's like what animals are breeding, what animals are hatching, like, and there's such a great connection to agriculture and country and land that those seasons haven't changed. It is sort of it's, you know, like I can tell, I'm like, oh, we're not in like in winter yet, like we're in that in between, you know, and I go back and I like check what season
I learnt about that when I did an episode on Getaway in Perth.
Oh, deadly.
In Kings Park, they have a actual guide that shares that information. But I wanted to show you
Was it
something.
Annie Carrie-Ann? No.
It was. Yes, it was.
Carrie-Ann Winmark.
Yes.
Oh, she's deadly. I love her.
She's deadly. But I wanted to. You said how you got awards.
Yeah.
So my brother sent me this photo. You probably can't see it, but a certificate that says first in subject, awarded to Matt Webb, which was, you know, my name.
Yeah.
In year 9, and I was the first in subject for Aboriginal Studies. But this wasn't. But look, this wasn't at the school where I was the only black fella. So this actually means something. Like I was first in Aboriginal Studies at a school that was like mostly black fellas. Yeah. So I got that, and I was like, oh.
That's so boss. That's so boss. I used to get all of those, like, all those awards. Like, Follow the Dream would always give me, like, it's so crazy. But I think, like, those little moments and those little memories and those, I guess those, not rewards, but, like, little boosts of confidence, like, I think they really contribute to young people. Like, I feel like it gives you that, like, okay, like I'm succeeding and I'm doing something really well, and I think young people need to have those, because you know, regardless of them being like these tokenistic Aboriginal awards, we don't really have them anymore. I think I think a lot of the education system, I'd say lightly, has evolved a little bit more than that. But I think they were really important to my like self-esteem and like building me up as a proud Aboriginal woman. Like, I was like, this is boss.
And I know that you, when you were in high school, you did a lot of like external like courses too. Like not so much courses, but like
extra like curricular like studies, like so tutoring and blah blah blah.
Well, twice a week I went to a program at TAFE which was called the Kamilaroi program, and it was like where I could go with other black fellows, and we would get taken out of school and we would go and make artifacts and and paint and take part in culture and learn language. So I did that for like a whole year for 2 days a week instead of going to school, and that program kept me in school.
Oh my! Another memory has unlocked. You are unlocking them today.
Unlocking the memories.
Holy shit! This reminds me again. Being in Carnarvon, we would have this after-school program. But it was because we were in care. And so after school, we would get taken to this house, which was like this kind of, I think it was like a department house. And we would just do activities where we would cook, like feeds, like I would bake something. I'd bake cookies or cakes or like cupcakes or whatever. And we would do art projects. That's so crazy. Oh my God. Anyways, that's such, I love that. I forgot but I think, all of those.
You know, the next generation, when it comes to this NAIDOC week, I just think that these are the things that really helped me when I was a young person. Connecting with culture, other black fellas, having community-led programs, programs. Like that program was community led. There were blackfella teachers in the program. So for me, those are the hopes for our generation at the moment, because I know that there are a lot of young blackfellas who are quite lost or not sure that, what to do with their lives at that pivotal age of, between 12 and 18. It's such a tricky time in your life as a young person, but just know that, I think that there is hope beyond those years, because I think when you're at that age, everything seems so big.
Yeah,
everything
it really
seems
does.
So monumental.
Exacerbated kind of feelings.
So I just connect with community programs. I know they're still out there. So I feel like, as young blackfellas, being with community is one of the most important things. So when you can, try and connect with local mob communities and initiatives, because it's always cool being able to create a sense of community as a young person too.
How do people who aren't a part of the First Nations community sort of, support First Nations people or support NAIDOC Week? How can we encourage allies to... I guess show up for our community, because
absolutely
we love it. Well, obviously, that's a given. But how do we get other people to understand that it's a great celebration for unity?
Yeah, it's a great week also to learn.
Yeah,
it's there's so many. There's a few moments in the year where our community is highlighted, and there's always the Gen 26 conversation in the beginning of the year, and then there's Rec Week, NAIDOC Week. And then the Koori Knockout at the end of the year. There are these sort of major
moments. We're going to Koori Knockout again or what? Brother, you should be playing. What are you talking about?
Step, gone. What do they call it? The goose.
You're the big emu.
Yeah, the emu. That was a good video. I am the emu. But what I want to say to people outside of our community who want to connect, this is a great week to, go to a community event. There are so many things on around the country. If you can't get out and about, also watch the NAIDOC Awards. The NAIDOC Awards really will bring you a sense of joy seeing our community thrive, happy. You see how much talent there is involved in our community. Also, the humour of our community is something that I want highlighted, because I'm like, we are cracked. If you love a good laugh, a belly laugh, a big guttural laugh, our community is always about that. So it's like, connect with us at a local NAIDOC event, or if you don't, and even if you don't even have any blackfella friends, which probably a lot of you don't have any blackfella friends.
Well, you got us. That's the main thing.
Yeah, you got us. Just go along to an event.
Yeah. There's the Eora NAIDOC Family Fun Day at Carriage Works on the 10th of July in Sydney. Yep. So all our Queensland mob, there's the NAIDOC Careers Expo, which is a really nice, it showcases all the Aboriginal businesses, what you can support if you're even supporting young Indigenous mob, whether you're a teacher, youth worker, whatever. These are the best places to go connect with community services. So they're great. That's on the 16th of July at the Cloncurry Shire Hall in Queensland. Then there's the Power and Water NAIDOC launch at the Raintree Park in the Northern Territory. So if you're from the NT mob, on the 7th of July, head to that. But if you also want some other information, there's the naidoc.org.au, which has all of the NAIDOC information you need, whether how to support it, things happening in community,
and you know what? If you're
theme.
If you're on the intersection or, an ally of the queer community, there's also the 2025 Queer NAIDOC, which is hosted at Brisbane Powerhouse in Leamington Street in New Farm. And that's hosted by a good friend of mine, Ben, Miscellaneous, Benny Gratz.
I love Ben.
Yes. So, that'll be a hoot. That's on the 5th of July. But then, as I said, if you can't, if you can't get out and about because you're not able to do that for any reason, you can always, put on a blackfella film. Watch a series that that's on online that shows our community, or tune into the NAIDOC Awards or the Fire Awards also in Brisbane. So there's so much you can do. NAIDOC Week is about 2 weeks away, so we encourage you to put it in the planner. Think about
literally an hour of your time. It's not that much to ask, honestly. We would love to see you there. I feel like, especially that Queensland event, I want to go to that Queen one.
I know. Maybe we should have hosted it.
We should have.
But look, I'm I'm actually in Brisbane the night before, so it could work out.
Oh, okay.
I could be there.
Let's keep noted about that. That
Yes.
sounds fun.
But also reach out to us if you want, any if you want any suggestions, reach out directly. You can find us on socials.
Share the love.
Yeah.
I know Baker Boy just released a new song. It's deadly as well, and it's got Adam Briggs in there. Briggsy in it.
Briggsy.
Briggsy.
Yeah.
Chuck on a First Nations artist.
Mm-hmm.
Put some deadly clothes on. Go to an event.
Yeah.
Send us a text message.
Also, you know what? Put your money where your mouth is. Make a donation to a black charity or buy black.
Actual though.
Yeah.
We love it.
That's a good
There's
call
so
out.
many First Nations businesses that you can support, and buying black only helps elevate our community and supports it. So thank you for your allyship. We appreciate you guys, even if you're just listening to our podcast today. Thank you so much, because that shows that you love us and you support First Nations mob. So thank you.
Yes, I also love that this episode we didn't talk about the deficit of our community.
Yeah, no,
And that
I was
is
like,
so-
I'm not talking
about that. You know,
look ready. I'm gonna. That's me.
You know, it definitely is important to highlight and make sure that people are aware that our community, there are gaps that need to be closed. But right now, I'm closing my gap. And I'm wrapping this up.
Thank you so much for listening to First Nations. Oh, God.
First Nations, go on. Thank you for listening to all the First Nations people.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you when I'm Prime Minister. Thank you, ChatGPT.
Go on then.
No, thank you so much for listening to First Things First. We love you guys. So if you love what you hear, you can follow us on our socials at Brooke.Blurton and Matty. It's Matty Mills.
Yep. All right, you mob, have a great NAIDOC week. I know it's in a couple of weeks, but get it in the planner. That's why we're doing this early.
Yeah.
All right,
Go
love
on,
ya.
then. Go on.
Go on.